Welcome to Studio Shrinkage number 44.
Wow.
William B. Rodriguez.
No, M, but oh,
You have an
okay.
M? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was kidding. I didn't know you even had a middle name.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What is it? You don't want to tell it.
Montserrat. Yeah, I don't care.
What is it?
Named after my dad's uncle.
That's an awesome name.
Mhm.
That's like so cool.
I used to not like it because everybody called me Maserati, mozzarella.
Oh, Matza Paul.
Yeah, stuff like
Well,
that. But
I was always called Lizard, so don't feel bad.
That's funny. I like
Children
laser.
are so nice. I got a lot of lasers. Got a lot of lasers.
Laser, yeah.
Why are people so mean? Kids especially,
I
right?
don't know. Kids are mean. Yeah.
And that's what they do. That's their life. Anyway, we're here. This is going to be the last podcast for a couple weeks. Because of a variety of reasons. So, but it's a good one because we're going to finish up what we started last week. And I get to talk half as much, which would be okay with me. So we're going to start with the news, and I have a horrible piece of news. It's horrible. Well, it's horrible for me.
Yeah.
It's really horrible for me. You want me to tell you what it is? DJi Air 2S. Son of a...
Yeah.
I'm so pissed.
I figured you would talk about that one.
I'm so...
How would you know that it would be exactly almost a year to the date when they released the second one? You know what I mean? I thought they'd give it a couple years, or whatever. Not the second one, but the update to.
Well, there's a couple
really
ways to go here, right? One is to sell what I have and get screwed. The other is to hold on to it and get the new Pro, which is coming, Pro 3.
You're right. It's probably right around the corner.
That all said, the 2S, it has some great things, but it doesn't have everything that, as an example, it's got, well, the biggest thing, of course, is the camera. I mean, it's offering a 1-inch CMOS camera, which is, I think, a huge improvement. That said, I think my camera's fine, but it's a little irritating because this is basically the same price. The other option is actually keep all my extra stuff, because the batteries fit identically. They're the same battery. So if I don't buy the Fly More kit, I don't need any of that. I don't even need the controller, actually.
Just buy the...
I don't know that you can just buy the drone, though.
I don't
well, no, but I could sell my drone with the controller and get the new one without the Fly More kit and keep... But I also bought ND filters for it, which won't fit. They're a completely different camera.
That will not fit. Yeah, it's a bigger camera.
So that's really irritating. It's going to be better in low light. It'll be better with less noise, etc., etc., etc. So I'm pretty irritated. It's going to have 5.4K resolution. It also has two more sensors in the front. On the top, actually, the top front.
Very cool too, because it actually goes at a 45-degree angle to go faster. They also released the new controller too.
Well, the controller's the same.
The smart controller with the screen built in.
No,
isn't that new?
No, that's been around for a long time.
Sorry, I guess it's compatible with this.
Yeah, it is, but it's compatible with all their drones, I think, or most of them. The flight time is down actually, from 34 to 31 minutes. I'm not sure it matters that much.
You get longer range as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just really furious because I just got this damn thing.
Doesn't that always happen though when we?
Yeah, because I screw around. No, I can't buy it. I don't want to buy it. I don't have the money. I got to sell. Oh, then I get everything together, sell everything, buy the damn thing. A week later, something else comes out. What the? I hate technology. I hate it.
Yeah. Well, I love it too in the same
I
way.
know. Well, of course, it's a love-hate thing, yes. But anyway, that's my first crummy piece of news. What's
Mine's crummy too. You might not be aware of this person, but a rapper popular in the '90s
I
died
think I
this
heard
week,
this.
or
Yeah, I heard
what,
this.
a week ago, from a heart attack at the age of 52, 54.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation that might be drug related, but it looks like it might not be. But either way, it was not my favorite rapper, but it's nostalgic when you hear some of his songs. It reminds me of my high school times, and
And
maybe
who is this
a little
person?
bit after that. DMX. I don't know. I'm sorry. I thought DMX. He is. I don't know what his real name is. But
Digital
he is
merchandising king. No, that would be. I don't know.
Earl Simmons.
Wow, that's a
Is his
jump.
real name. Darkman X. DMX stands for. And you may recognize a song or two if you've heard it, because it's been in movies and TV ads.
Yeah, I wouldn't, but someone else
been
might.
around. But I mean, you might hear it and remember it from somewhere. But a bunch of good songs. And he passed away, unfortunately. So that's my news.
I have good news. My mic is back. Oh, here it is.
Oh, whoa. That's great. Fantastic.
It's really actually awesome. I missed it because I hated having a lapel mic, because it's already bad enough having this. But it doesn't bug me as much as the lapel mic did. It's I know if you get away from the mic, you're gonna lose something, but it's not. I positioned it in a way it's really pretty convenient. You think it would be in my way of my board, but if you look over, it's really not. So let me see if I can show you that. There, now you can see it.
No, not good. Yeah.
So I mounted it with a removable mic clip, which is kind of awesome actually, because then this whole thing just goes away. So there you go. I'm sticking to it. Anyway, the next piece of news is there's a huge Apple event, which I don't think is going to be as huge as other people do. It's a week, right? In April, Tuesday.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
April
Tuesday.
20th, yeah.
I think.
April 20th, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's mostly about iPads, and it's going to be a new iPad Pro, which is timing. I was really hot on doing new iPads last year. This year, I just don't think I care.
Yeah.
There's a new Apple Pencil, really. There's already a new Apple. Anyway, so there's all sorts of stuff. There's they're talking about new processors and stuff, but I don't believe it's going to be a Mac release. It's possible the iMac.
Yeah, I've heard maybe
might
the iMac,
happen, maybe, but I think, and down the road, I'm much more intrigued in new Mac Minis, with a faster chip and more ports. Because if you put a Mac Mini, and you put 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports in them, and you put the whatever it is, M2 or M1X or whatever in it, with 32 gig of RAM, I don't know that you need a Mac Pro to do anything anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rumors as to that happening. I don't know if you want to call it a Mac Pro Mini or a Mac Mini Pro or whatever, but it would solve a lot of my problems for sure.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing I found out that was really interesting, and you would be able to attest to this, and that is that the new Parallels running Windows is so fast it's faster than the PC. Is that true?
Well, I haven't tested that yet. That was the least of my worries. I guess this might be a good segue to the next.
Well, actually, I got
topic.
more news though.
Oh, you have more news. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
but
Yeah,
yes,
I haven't
it would
run
be.
but I've read really good reports that I'm maybe doing. That will be my next thing.
I heard it's flying, like flying.
Especially because the Windows has made an ARM64 version that runs almost natively with this ARM style processor. Almost natively. I guess it's not really natively because it's inside Parallels.
Yeah.
Virtual machine But
Yeah.
yeah, I will keep you posted as.
But I got to
I
be
try
honest,
to.
it's an intrigue. It's so intriguing that if you talk about that Mac Mini I just talked about, and you have Windows running that fast in parallels,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm not sure. Is there a need for a PC anymore?
Nope. No.
I mean, that's just
Probably not.
incredible to me. I mean, just mind-boggling. Because at that point, if you run in, what is the mode in Parallels where it's, I forgot what they call it, but anywhere where it's transparent, you don't see it. Windows, you just see the drop,
Yeah.
I swear,
I think it's transparency mode.
transparency, that's exactly what it is, yeah. Transparency mode, it would be, I mean, just, you just run, like Windows apps right next to the Mac app. I mean, I do that anyway already within the Intel world, but if that's running that fast, oh my God, it just mind-boggling. It blows the brain. So anyway, that's an interesting piece of news. Here's another piece of news. Sennheiser released the MKE 400 shotgun microphone, and it looks really cool. It's for like I would say it's really more for iPhone type things or cell phone things. I just realized there is a problem with this mic mounted on this. Watch. So if I pick this up or if I type.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Oh, okay.
No.
I have a bug I have to figure out. Maybe if I put foam under it. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, it looks really kind of neat. It's got a shock capsule and it protects from wind and stuff, and it looks like a really terrific small run and gun microphone. And then I have one last piece of news, which again is really irritating to me. So all the news just really pissed me off this week. Anyway, this is frustrating. This is from Roland. Roland has gone berserk and released a million things all at once, all V drums. They released super high-end V drums, where they're basically drum shells, the real drum shells. But I have a TDX. Oh, good, Marty. A TD50. That's the controller that I have. So I have it's the last version of the high-end head brain that they had. They just released the TD50X. And from what I've heard about this thing, they've basically done what they should have done when they released the TD50. Because the TD50 had a lot of smarts, but no, I mean, they had like one drum set and 6 different snares, and it was so limiting. So you had to build everything from scratch. I mean, you could build anything from them, but it didn't have enough templates and all sorts of stuff. Well, of course, the TD50X does. It has everything that you wanted on the TD50. So it's infuriating, but here's the good news. There is a little piece of good news, is they are going to sell an upgrade to the 50, like they did to the 30 and the 25, I think, but where you can actually buy, which I think is already ridiculous, since these drums are $7,000 freaking dollars. You'd think they would just give you the update, but it would avoid me having to buy a new brain, except for the one in my head. So it is possible to upgrade my TD50 to a TD50X, which I'll download. If it's like $100 or $200, okay, that's fine. The biggest news about the drum kit itself, though, is actually, in addition to the really high-end ones that look like drums, is their hi-hat is really cool. They already made the best hi-hat around, but the new ones have way more sensors, and anyway. So it's a really terrific upgrade to me. It's a really terrific upgrade. So I'm excited, but I'm not going to get any of them except for maybe the brain update. And that is all of the news for me. That was a lot of news. Oh, by the way, the hi-hat, the reason the hi-hat's so cool is it's digital. It connects through a digital port instead of analog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which means the snare.
That's new.
Yeah, the snare, the bass drum, and now the hi-hat, all 3 of them would connect digitally, which is kind of a big deal actually, because there's a lot of reasons why that's good, but. Okay, so this leads me to the remaining part of what we started last week, and that is how we do what we do, and I think we should talk about, because now it's changed again. if you remember. Because last week I was controlling your screens.
Yes.
And this week that is no longer the case. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, so the handoff basically is you're feeding me everything, and we're going to get into that in a second. And then, I'll make sure I understand what we do. So you're feeding me everything, and I'm switching from scene to scene within the context of what you give me and what I have. But you are controlling everything about your side, including switching.
Yes.
The only other thing is the handoff is that you're not using Skype. You are actually using a feed that comes from Ecamm, an Ecamm session. And that's used for the communication between us. And that's basically the way this whole thing works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch over to you. Where is that? Okay, here I am.
There you are.
Mr. Will.
So this is a long story. I've had a Mac. I've always had a Mac laptop since probably the PowerBook G4, G5 series, G5. I think that was the PowerBook aluminum body right before the Intels came around. So maybe the last 15 years-ish. God, it's so long. And then I upgraded to the Intel stuff. And then recently I started with the new Apple M1 stuff. I started realizing that there's less and less of a reason for me to be mainly a Windows user, because my big PC has always been a Windows machine, partially because some of the stuff I use was Windows only. But in the recent years, the last piece of that puzzle was FL Studio.
That's what I was going to ask you.
They made a native version that works on Macs.
So let me ask you a question about that before you even move on. So FL Studio, I have it on my Mac, and I have it installed on my PC. Now that it's officially released, now that it's a full-blown version, are they identical? Do they work exactly the same, or are there? They do.
Exactly identical. There was a time when there was an emulation thing, and it was a kind of a beta test, and that was not exact. That was not identical. But now that it is written natively for Macs, it's identical. It plays it. Even the exit button, minimize buttons in the corner are FL Studio style and not Mac style. Because usually when you write a program for Mac, it gets the red, green, and yellow dots for their minimizing stuff. Anyway, small detail, but it does look exact and feels exact the same in Windows and Mac. And it was time for me to get upgrade the laptop that I have. I've had the recent MacBook. I think it's early 2012. I had it for the last 7 years. So I wanted to upgrade. And I said, well, now's a good time. And it's funny because Marty and I, you might have heard in some of our podcasts, we argue about what's worse or what's better, Windows or PC, and everybody has their own opinion.
Yeah, and there really isn't anything worse or better. It's just about there's certain things that are good about one.
How much you know. I don't know as much in Mac, so I'm not able to fix as many problems as I would in Windows, but I'm getting there. But now I'm finding there's more tools in Mac only that makes what Marty and I do and what I do in my music and video stuff on the side, which makes it a lot easier.
You like Final Cut?
Yes, and the
which
one
is
reason
another thing, right? I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, the one reason I did stick with the MacBook and kept going is because of Final Cut Pro. It's probably one of the best video editors out there, and I've tried everything in the market of Windows and could not find anything that has the workflow, the tools, the ease of use. Just the workflow, everything just is really good about Final Cut, and I just didn't have enough power on the machine on the older MacBook that I had. It was i7 and 16 gigs of RAM, but it just still didn't have enough power because it started to pull in 4K video and stuff like that.
But for your music, so that's a no-brainer, right? Your NLE is that's what you want to use anyway, because of the magnetic timeline, all the advantages, and there's like everything else, there's disadvantages too. But your music thing is a very different ballgame, because
Yes.
if you're using a if you're using a standard, so to speak, DAW, it's probably Studio One, right? But if you're using your writing stuff, it's really FL Studio. Studio
Yes.
One's always been both platforms, but now that Fruity Loops, FL Studio, is now Mac, this resolves almost all your issues on a
Yeah.
Mac. Interesting.
And I'm not one to be an early adopter, especially when it comes to music stuff. We've talked about it.
Oh my
A
God,
new
yeah.
operating system is hard enough to adapt to for music software unless you're only using Mac products. It's usually they're the first products to work. But if using third-party plugins and other DAWs, most of that stuff takes like 6 months time plus to get up
Yeah,
and running with
yeah,
the
I
new
know.
OS. So, but then now you bring in this hardware change. For those that don't know, the new M1 Max is just the processors are no longer made by Intel; they're actually made by Apple. They're Apple's technology, Apple's silicon, whatever you want to call it. But they developed the chip to work way more efficiently with their operating system, um, and the graphics are built in, and the specs, the benchmarks are just amazing. This laptop I got is started at base model is $12.99. I added some RAM and some bigger hard drive. It came out to $17.99, a little bit more, but um, it's been compared to bigger Mac Pros and iMac Pros that are like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So I started to think, well, if I'm going to buy something, I might as well buy this. But I was scared because it was it was an early adopter. These just came out, I think, in November, and you kind of want to see how these things work themselves out. So then I finally bought one about a month ago, and we were going to do this a lot sooner, but there were some problems. So the one of the main reasons I wanted to do this is to replace my desktop totally. Well, not totally, but to be able to work on everything in one machine, but still be portable. And the one problem with this baseline model is it does not natively support more than one screen. It's only got two Thunderbolt ports on the side.
Yeah.
One you need for charging. The second one you can use for a number of items, including your monitors, right? Or a monitor. You're only limited to one natively, but so that set me back, and I thought that was going to be a deal, a game or deal breaker for me. But luckily, I found um, a company that made a driver called DisplayLink that allows you to use multiple screens. And I've seen some people using 3 screens plus the laptop screen. So I ordered one. The first one was a DOA, plugged it in, it worked for a
Of
couple
course.
hours, and then when I went to start testing, the lights off, and it just died. So sent it back. Took a couple weeks to get a new one, a replacement. I don't want to get into the story, but once I got the new one, plugged it in, everything's working pretty well. So I start installing everything. I got Logic, Final Cut, FL Studio, Native Instruments. I recently upgraded to the 13 and installed that. Then I started finding problems. So a couple of the problems were related to, actually, most of the problems were related to the dock and not sleeping, but the way this computer goes to sleep or saves power by turning off hard drives, sleeping hard drives, sleeping
Yeah, which you can turn all that
displays.
off, right?
Yeah, and I started to, and I kind of got everything except for forgot to click one button, and that resolved my final thing with the drives disconnecting themselves.
Yeah.
So now everything seems to be running properly,
Yeah.
and I'm excited because
Okay, so that leads
I
you to how you are physically using all this stuff then.
yeah. So I'm not going to show you pictures of my gear because I don't have as much as Marty, but I'm running 3 things. Um, well, 2 things. I got a Novation Launch Key Mini, which is a tiny little keyboard because I don't have a lot of space, but I don't really play piano, so I just needed something to control some synths and
Yeah.
tap out drums.
Right.
And then I have my interface, which is a Focusrite 18i20, 8 inputs. I could expand with ADAT, but I don't need. Realistically, I have a guitar cable plugged in all the time in line 2, and this mic, the podcaster, no, pod mic, plugged in all the time, and that's realistically all I ever use because most of the voice stuff I do is just for this podcast. I don't record other people. One of the reasons I wanted to use Mac is we had tons of problems feeding my audio to the podcast through
Yeah.
Windows. There's not a lot out there. There's a couple programs or plugins, one of them being the virtual cable, and it worked, but there was tons of problems with it, delays and echoes, and it just didn't work like I wanted to. So we use Loopback. Marty showed me Loopback. It's probably one of the best tools for what we do, especially when you're trying to feed half a dozen different sources from your browser to your DAW or your sequencer or some plugins or whatever you want to feed to the podcast to share with you guys or record on, since we're remote through Ecamm or Skype or whatever it may be. That was probably one of the coolest tools going to the Mac side.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's having issues right now, but we'll work on that another time. But I use that to feed audio to Marty, whether it be my microphone or DAW, whatever. Now, the video stuff is I have one source being my camera, which is just a webcam / security USB security camera, but it's pretty solid quality. I've been able to use the Canon for a little bit, but it's easier. That was one thing that worked easier on the Windows machine because they have a driver. Canon offers a driver for you to use your SLR camera as a webcam. It doesn't work as well on Mac, so I switched back to my USB camera, and then I have my desktop, whether I want to share a web browser or my DAW, and I do that by switching in OBS, which is Marty's mentioned this a few times. It's a broadcasting software that most people use for streaming, but what we do is I use it to go ahead and switch back and forth between. I only have 2 scenes because I don't have as much going on as Marty does, but Marty has a few different scenes that allows him to switch back and forth. So I feed those through. Again, you could use it through Skype or Zoom as a web camera tool. They have a plugin that is called Virtual Camera, and you can whatever you feed out of OBS, whatever you see out of OBS will be fed through your conferencing software. Again, we're using Ecamm because it offers a few more tools for the recording side of things, but you could use it in Zoom or Skype or whatever free conferencing softwares are out there. And it makes this really easy. Marty showed you can use controllers to just do it by hand. I just have only 2, so I just click one click of a mouse and back and forth. So if it was any more complex, I'd probably invest in a controller. But for me, it's just one click here, one click there. So that's all I use to feed any video I want to share with, whether it be my camera or on my computer.
Yeah, I mean, I have 10 scenes and 4 camera switches. So that's a lot of stuff to try to figure out how to do with a mouse. Yes, I mean, with Ecamm, you can see it because it's all listed in a row, but it's very small, and to go click in little buttons with your mouse when you're trying to be on air, it's undoable. So that's why I'm using the Stream Deck. There's many tools, but that's the one. But yeah, you're right. If you only have a couple things to switch to, there's no reason to have such a thing.
Yeah.
So, do you have more than one camera, or just one camera for the most part?
I have multiple cameras, but not set up. I only have the one webcam.
And for right now, that's enough, right?
Yeah, it's plenty. It's decent quality. It's surprisingly good.
Yeah, no, looks good.
I was just a little wide because its main purpose was a security camera, HD security camera.
Yeah.
But it can be used as a webcam, so I just have to zoom in a little bit to kind of, because if not, you'd see like 20 feet of empty space behind me, or more of my studio.
Right. And you have a green screen, right?
Yes, I have a green screen behind me, so I can fill the background and kind of do cool little transitions like this, where my head is in the corner,
Yeah.
but anything with the green screen is replaced with whatever I'm showing, whether it
Yeah,
be
which is
like this is
cool.
Logic right now, and I could change this so I'm even smaller, but
Yeah.
this lets me be in the picture, describing, pointing at things, and demonstrating things without being too much in the way. But the green screen allows me to take away
Yeah.
the background I'm using in the
Right.
talking headshot. This is just a picture
Right.
overlaid. Instead, here it overlays it with the actual screen, what's on screen. So I like
Yeah.
that feature. Pretty cool.
And that's all done with OBS.
OBS, yeah, sorry. OBS
Yeah.
lets me do the green screen or chroma keying, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
Very
to be
cool.
green. It could be blue. It could be a blue
It
screen
could be
if you
blue.
want.
That's true. Could be
But
blue.
most people are familiar with the green screen because I guess greens are easier to overlay stuff on.
Yeah, mostly because there's no naturally occurring green in a human body. That's the main reason. But of course, I've had issues where I've been sent footage where people shot against the green screen and had green clothing. So there's like spots of clearness right through their body. So that's kind of fun. But anyway, okay. Well, that's very cool. And we have it's something that occurred to me is that we have opted for when we first started doing audio podcasts, you would record audio and I would record audio, and then we'd put them together. And it got to a point where the audio was good enough that we didn't really need to do that. So you stopped recording, and we are not doing any recording on your side. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I do not anymore.
Yeah. Question is,
Cam.
I'm not sure if that's something that, for redundancy purposes, I wouldn't suggest to somebody. I don't know.
There's a backup just in case.
Plus it's also a quality issue because everything we're getting here is being fed over the internet. So I'm sure that if you were recording directly, your audio would be, top
slightly
notch.
better, slightly cleaner. Yeah.
But it wouldn't really help a video unless you were recording your video as well, which you could actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's an option. I mean, you could actually, if you have complete editing control, you could actually do everybody independently could capture their own screens and stuff. But there's a couple problems with that. The first problem is that everyone now has to do all that. That's number one.
Yeah.
So now everybody's doing it, not just one person, and that's crazy. The second problem is that you still have to move this data around. So, I mean, it's a pain because you have to upload it, and when you're talking about audio, it's nothing. But if you're talking about video, it can be big, and it depends on your connection speeds, and then you have to use something like a Dropbox or whatever to share the files. And so far it hasn't been a real issue. Although, I've never heard anyone complain about the fact that the video is terrible or anything like that. So, also, I think it's a different time. I think people are used to, this medium. What people are talking to each other this way all the time now. So I think it's a very different world.
A year and a half ago, this would have been like different, but now I think we're so used to it. At least those of us that work from home and have to meet with people, we have to use Zoom, and we just got used to Zoom or Teams or Skype or whatever we're using. We got used to it. So you're right, it's a different time.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's the way. Can you think of anything else that you do on your end that I wouldn't know about, or that we haven't discussed? No. Okay.
I mean, my lighting situation's a lot, because I use a 6 foot by 4 foot nook in the back of my whatever, no matter where, but small area, so I don't need as much lighting. So I have a 5x7 LED panel that I can switch from bluish, whitish tint to yellow. Yeah. I found the whiter works better with the green screen than the yellow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you? Interesting.
Yeah. Without that single light, I'd have a lot more trouble with the green screen. I could probably use one more, but
you're pretty. I don't know. You're pretty evenly lit, to be really honest. And this is an interesting thing because lately we've been doing this in the mornings when there's a lot of sun in my studio. I have shades down everywhere actually, and yet I suppose we could
pretty well lit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have. I mean, I have lights all over this place. I have 3-point lighting set up all over. I don't think I've turned it on since we started shooting during the day. I don't think I've turned it on. So, Anyway, so that's our story. We're sticking to it. If anyone has any questions or wants to leave a comments about how they do it, that might be a little different. That we could learn something from. I'm all open for that. Please do so. You can do it at our YouTube channel, Studio Shrinkage, or you can do it at studioshrinkage.com, or you can do it anywhere. We're all over the place. So that leads us to our section we call plugins or software that we have, like, or use. So why don't we start with you?
Well, being that I'm transitioning into the Mac world full time, I've started spending more time in these programs, and I think I mentioned in the last, no, I think maybe we were just talking on the side, but I said, I actually put together a little song that it's not done yet, but it just using some tools that I would love to learn Logic better, and one of them is, and you've been telling me this forever, and I just haven't tried it. But again, because I wasn't full-time on a Mac, but now I am, they have the step sequencer. And one of the big reasons I like FL Studio is just a very basic 4x4 step sequencer, which works for a lot of reasons for me. And that we could talk about that. I think we've already talked about that in another specific to FL Studio. But now I can use FL Studio, but I just wondered, well, what if I can do everything Logic has to offer and not have to separate my workflow into 2 items or multiple programs or whatnot. So here I took their drummer plugin, and that's pretty cool because you can kind of get a real human feeling setup, and you can control it, but overlaid it with a step sequencer. And this step sequencer is comprised of 4 different sequences or patterns that runs a total of 4 bars. You're not going to hear this because the audio is not connected, but it's a basic just hip hop drum beat, boom, 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 but overlaid with the drum machine or a loop. You could build layers and get really kind of cool rhythmic sounds that I was just not getting. Like Reason is another example, or FL Studio. They're so locked into that grid that if you don't use it right, it sounds a little robotic. And I've never really gotten in the flow of Reason to work entirely in Reason, but I like to use it because their sounds are really good quality. So, but I've figured out things in FL Studio to make it a little bit less robotic, or boom, bap, boom, bap. And some of it is like you as a drummer helping me understand concepts and stuff like that. Some of it is just testing out. But now I could do my workflow was just click 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. Here's hi-hats, give me 8 or whatever, give me triplets, and I can do all that stuff right here inside one channel on Logic. So then I could plug in my guitar, and I can then use my Native Instruments plugins, guitar rig, and all of it just makes me wonder why I didn't do this sooner.
So you're saying that your software plugin is Logic. That's what you're saying.
No, not Logic, but this part of Logic, the step sequencer, allows me to.
Yes, right.
I went on a tangent about everything else that Logic could do, but my focus is this little step sequencer brings so much sense to me because I'm used to using this style of, this is my workflow in FL Studio. They're built around this. So now that I have that in here, which I know it's been 6 months when they added this feature, but again, I just didn't spend enough time on the Mac to really get comfortable with it.
How close is it?
It's identical.
FL.
It's limited because it's. I guess you could add more pieces to it, but it's limited as well. No, because when you open up a new session, there's only 4 basic sounds: a kick, snare, hi-hat, clap, and this is about the same.
Yeah, but you can add a million, clap, right?
Yeah, so you can add more and get crazy with it. But if you then, instead of adding a sampler in here like I would in FL Studio, I use a sampler out here so I could cut up a sample, a loop, or whatever. And then you have the loop library, which I haven't even downloaded totally yet because I was just like, I haven't spent a ton of time in here. But
well, that's one of the things that I think Logic is a total bargain. And I mean, I can't believe you all the stuff. I mean, I can't believe all the stuff they give you for free. How I don't work this way. have you discovered yet what the interplay between using step sequencer at the same time you're using a timeline? How does it
Yeah,
interplay? Is it
yeah,
sections
because
at a time?
this 4 pieces compiles one loop. So all you do is you pretend this is a loop. So now I could say, okay, play here, and then we'll drop it out for one verse, and then here, so I can arrange it just like as if it was a regular loop inside of.
Okay, so the sequencer is in fact encompassing what you see above. And so if you go to the next one and start another
Yeah,
one.
this if you double click it becomes its own editor
Oh,
instead
so
of
that works the
piano
same way all
roll
the other
or.
editors do in Logic.
Yeah. So
Oh,
then
cool.
it locks. So it says, okay, that's one loop. These 4 patterns are one loop, and then you just paint it across, or just like you would any other loop.
Wow.
Or piece of audio.
That's unbelievable.
And then I played some piano on top of it, and just my piano part was smaller, so 4 loops.
Wow, that's really cool.
Comprises, and I wish you could hear my piano playing. It's so divine. I actually play the chords myself, but whatever.
That's funny.
Not quite divine. I was just being facetious.
We're having a problem because of loopback, right?
Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah, we'll fix that. Anyway, it's an interesting. See, to me, you're using a tool, of course, that I use and I've been using for since forever, but not in a very different way, in a completely different way. I would not even. So why did I spend all that money on the sequencers I bought last week? Why?
Because those have the random generators.
I know.
So like you can get a funky feels that you might not normally have in your repertoire. This is just whatever you. I mean, some of this
you're
is
building it.
Determined. You can drag and drop a beat.
Yeah.
And so if I go to this one, the step sequencer is there. So they have some pre-programmed
that's cool.
stuff here too. But then I can go and I want an extra kick or two.
Yeah, of course.
Whatever, snares, whatever. And this one has, as you see, more pieces loaded here.
Yeah.
So this now adds to kind of what, not randomizing, but when I'm in a funk or can't figure out a feel or rhythm, I can now go in here and start with one of Apple's loops to kind of get me into
started. Yeah,
get me started, get me in the mood, and figure out where I want to go from there.
And I see that you have control over how many steps you're doing. Right now it's set for 32. So is that like a pull down menu? You can say, yeah, I want to do 50 steps. Yeah, that's awesome.
FL's is a little bit more. There's going to be more freedom in FL Studio, but again, for me, just trying to find that workflow combined with the power of Logic, I think this is really helped me get more into it. And especially, like I said, I haven't played or made a song in such a long time that just even creating this little loop.
Yeah,
it's still not a complete song by any means, but at least it's like, okay, this could be a verse.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. It gets you started.
It got me started and got me making music for a good amount of time, and I'm happy with it. Very happy. So I'm just want to spend more time and get to know Logic in and out, inside and out. But any new, whether it's Logic, FL Studio, any new piece of equipment or software, you're going to have to dedicate some time to it. There is going to be a learning curve. But once you get into it and spend a certain amount of hours on it, you're going to get better at it. So I have to just stay dedicated, stay committed, and keep doing it.
Yeah.
But that's my plugin. Again, I know I talked more about Logic, but that little part of this
it's really neat.
The step sequencer alone makes a big, big difference.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. See, you taught me something. Not that that's that hard to do. Native Instruments does something called complete control. What Arturia has done is giving you something called Analog Lab, and there's a new version of it called Analog Lab 5. And it's pretty great. So Analog Lab 5 is a new version, and what it does, and it's really neat. If you have a controller made by Arturia, it's particularly wonderful. and I have their 88 key controller. And it basically allows you, if you have their complete system, which I do, it is incredible. But even if you don't have it, if you just bought Analog Lab 5 alone, you would get an incredible amount of sets of music from synths and stuff like that, pieces of all these different things. They don't give you everything, of course, but boy, they give you an awful lot, and it's $200, and it's an amazing piece of software. So what it does is all of the stuff here is controlled by the controller if you have one, which basically allows you to select presets like a church organ or B3 rock sound or whatever. When you click the button, you don't have to know where all this stuff is located, what combination of those things are there. And I don't know if we can, let's see if this works. So it's pretty cool.
All I've ever wanted was an ice cream.
So we can go on and on, but you can see just with that clip, it's crazy. It's really crazy. All of those things are controlled by a keyboard, and it is an amazing tool. If you want to be motivated, we talked about this several times, and you don't have anything in your brain, I think, and frankly, I think the same way about Native Instruments complete control, because if you're not looking at the software, if you're not looking at the screen, and instead you're at your keyboard, and now I'm not a keyboard player, but I can see why it'd be awesome if you're a keyboard player. But even if you just have a controller and you're playing it with a guitar synth or whatever, it is so inspiring. You can hear all these different sounds and these different combinations of sounds that might say, oh, that's it, man. That's what I need. It's just really motivational to me, and I think this is a particularly wonderful group of things. If you're fortunate enough to have Analog Lab, the Arturia stuff, and have Native Instruments, I can't imagine in my life why anyone would need even anything else. Honestly, I really don't know how you do it. But you got type. It's defined by types and devices and styles and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's very well put together. To me, do you remember? We talked about this. Do you remember librarians in the early days of sequencers? I think I complained about this at least twice in this podcast series. It was like I could never get anything to work, and I was using Motu stuff to try to make it work, the librarian. But to me, this is the ultimate librarian. What I wish is one keyboard could do all of it, but they're all trying to sell their own hardware, right? Wouldn't it be awesome if you could control Native Instruments? Well, you can control the sense, but it's not built into the controller, right? So you can add functionality from one into another, but it's not native like it is like this, what you're looking at. But if you had these two, and then you could add other things like maybe Spectrasonics, oh my God. It'd be so uber out of control.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my software plugin / incredible. It's a great piece of software. It just really is. I think it's fabulous. So that's mine. We have now our opportunity to explain what we would love to have if we had the money. I'm very calm today. I'm very, very calm. I've even talked about this product. Well, I'll do mine first, and it's really simple. Arturia, since I was on the Arturia... You hearing that?
Yes, I am.
Oh, it's kind of interesting because it's the device. Let me go back to my screen. You can see it. So what this is the Arturia PolyBrute, which is the polyphonic version of my Matrix Brute. And it is so cool sounding. that I want one of these because I think it would be a great mate.
What is polyphonic for those of
Thank
us
you for
out
asking
there
that
that
question
don't
yourself.
know?
Hang on. It's got an iPhone thing.
What is that?
Oh. Right there, you're seeing it. The guy's pushing more than one key at one time. So the synthesizer is set up in a way that you can have multiple sounds. I don't know exactly what the specs are on the PolyBrute. This is what it looks like.
8 or 16, I think.
I don't know. I don't really know, but 6 at once.
6, okay.
Yeah. And people are really saying this thing is an amazing tool. Arturia is kind of on a roll with these synths, actually. It's a beautiful piece of hardware. It's not totally out of control price-wise. It's actually $2,700.
Yeah, in the realm of analog synths, that's
Yeah.
pretty low. Not low end in quality, but
Yeah.
lower end of the spectrum in price.
Right. It does have a matrix. It's not as big as the Matrix Brute. It has a couple of VCOs. So it is a very, very impressive sounding synth. God, I wish I could play keyboards. I think it'd be so cool. So that is my hardware. I think that's relatively cheap for me. $2,700 is an affordable price for that. And that's mine. What is your...
I was actually able to... I picked up this guitar the other day. I took my son to see Chicago Music Exchange, not a sponsor, just to check out some guitars and, kill some time on a Saturday afternoon. By the way, they open at noon. We got there right before they opened, but I thought they opened at 11. But anyway.
Oh, but you know what's good about that? There's a really good breakfast place right in the corner.
It's gone.
No.
About a year or two now, yeah. Wildfire, it was called.
Oh, I used to
It's
love
gone.
going there for breakfast and think, oh, well,
Yeah.
now I'm bummed.
Couple of Bloody Marys or
man.
whatnot. Yeah,
Oh,
I
my
remember.
God.
Yeah, it's no longer there.
That's depressing. What's
But
there?
I was at Animal Hospital or something like that.
Oh, well, what the heck?
That, yeah, I don't know. Thought
right.
another restaurant would pop up there, but I guess not. So anyway, I was in Chicago Music Exchange, and
Yep.
as I do, I go and look at the PRSs, and of course, this was not too bad. It's a PRS wood library, custom 24, 10 top flame, Leprechaun tooth satin. This thing is weird because it's got a satin finish here. I'll put it up on the screen.
Okay. Where are you? Sorry.
In the corner. There I am. So it's got a satin finish instead of gloss finish. I'm not a big fan of the green, but it's kind of
I'm not
really
either, but
nice top. But it's a subtle green.
It's satin.
The back is satin black.
Look at that
because it's
neck.
not- but yeah, look at the neck. This is I don't know, curly maple, flame maple. Where is it?
God.
Here it is.
That's
Look at
ridiculous.
And that's just a dark finish. I thought it was like rosewood too, but it's just the maple.
No,
It's maple,
Yeah.
but like darker finish, man. And that thing feels and plays so nice.
My God.
So, Purist.
What's
can go
it
for
called?
much more than-
A wood library?
Yeah, Purist Wood Library. Leprechaun tooth is the finish or the color. But again, the two unique things about it, it's just like any other custom 24. Pickup selection is pretty common, I believe. 8515
Yeah.
pickups. Yeah, so it's not uncommon, but the satin finish and that neck is just gorgeous. So-
Yeah.
and it's a little more because it's the wood, the 10 top and the wood library is like somewhere in between a regular PRS, everyday $3,000 PRS, and your private stocks, which are
Yeah.
10, 12,000 plus. So it's a nicer piece of wood, but not quite a private stock. So it's $4,900. It's not unreasonable.
Not cheap, but it's certainly not
It's
nuts.
not cheap if you're looking
Yeah.
for your first guitar, but hey,
Wow.
it's PRS. Whether you love them
Yeah.
or you hate them.
Yeah. Beautiful guitar.
Oh,
Wow, you
nice
went
case,
crazier
too.
than me.
Yeah, but it was fun to play it too. So it kind of makes
Yeah, I'm
it
sure.
more- I wish I could buy it, but I can't.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well that fits right in then.
Yep, that's my story.
Oh my
and I'm
God. Well, okay, I think that ends our podcast. Like I said before, we're going to be off for a week or two, and when we come back, we'll figure out what's going to happen then. Until next time, Will, I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.